Alrighty, well, welcome to part 2 of episode 2 of Duconians Reforged. We're going to be looking at Caledon and taking a closer look at all the details and techniques that we used to make this happen. I wanted to first of all give a huge shout out to the Duconians, where each one that participated, it just is a huge deal. That they were able to put this together and everything. And this took 2 months with the Duconian group. I can't imagine if I would have done this alone, how long that would have taken in survival. But ultimately, it's just amazing to see the progress and how the process came together. And this eventually was built. And hopefully, episode 3 will have a lot more to show for it. So, that being said, let's start at the front western gate and see what there is to see. So, first things first, we come in and there is this wooden bridge. The wooden bridge isn't anything special, it's just a wooden bridge with a couple of posts using the corner variations of the beams there, and it holds it up. One big thing I want you guys to notice is the hillside. We decided we wanted to use these flow paths. Now, it would have been better to try to represent where runoff would, how it would collect at this point. That's something we didn't really, do. So realistically, the realistic value is lacking to a certain degree, but it still does look very nice. I like how it sort of makes the hill into somewhat sections. I really like how that turned out. So, but anyways, I'm gonna set this time back to day, because that is annoying. By the way, this village was built in survival, although I am in creative mode right now. If you guys noticed, or if you guys watched any of the live streams, there's over 26 live streams of us building this in survival, and that's a huge thing. However, we are about done with survival at this point, so we're going to be doing episode 3 in creative. It just is more efficient with our time. So coming in to the front gate, we got these little banner things. This was an idea by Fingolfin and A Fish Without Fins, so we're going to be seeing stuff like that all over the place. Of course, we got the Duconian sigil there above, adorning the front barbican. And then on the inside here, let's take a look at this rolling stone. So the idea is that these here are levers in order to leverage this stone to roll through this little gap here, and then it would pretty much be a gate. So you can imagine a big rolling stone right there. So it makes for a really interesting detail. I really like this Caledon design, this idea here, and it really came together to be something quite unique and special. But like you can see, you can come up here and there's these little notches that you can push this pole through, and then that's how you would engage the gate. So very, very nice. Really like that. And then this here is, of course, the where archers would be, I guess, slingers, but we do have bows. We do have bows represented across the build. So they do have archers. They do have bows. So this here being the front barbican, it's quite an area. I really like how this turned out. It's very atmospheric. You feel very enclosed. Thomas came back through here and detailed the area up after we had finished the main idea of it. So thank you, Thomas, for finishing this area up and making it what it is. The stock gates have these little tiny arrow slits all the way along. But that makes for a really good defensible area here. Plus, it's, unlike this wall up here, this wall has more larger battlements, or whatever you want to call those, openings to shoot through. Whereas this one down here is much smaller holes. And the reason why is it's much closer to the terrain, the surrounding terrain. So you want to try to create a more defensible option for the defenders, obviously. So the next thing to see is these totems. When we were building the gate, Django had this idea to create these totems out front the main entrance, which I think really turned out quite nicely. That tribal look just really has an interesting and fun aspect to it that makes the entrance that much more fun. If they weren't there, it would just be a gate there, and that just would not quite convey quite as well as it does with these totems here. So we used those rugs up there. I thought that was a really good idea. It makes for a really interesting bit of extra color and detail. And then there is a couple murder holes here and there. And then, of course, a place for archers to shoot down right there. So a lot of interesting little things. Got a couple murder holes right there. So this does get more or less medieval, architectural wise. You know, obviously stuff like this, I'm not quite certain would be obviously in the Iron Age, but we implemented them because it just felt right for what we were doing at the time. A couple arrow slits either side, and of course the main gate. Come inside here, and there are these two little alcoves where you can access those arrow slits from. There's another one over here as well. And then when you come in the front gate, there is by the way, there is more murder holes right there. Murder holes everywhere. And there are more right here as well. So pretty much no blind spots in the gate housing. As an attacker would try to breach this area, they would be met with extreme force. So here is a altar of sorts. The idea is that the religious activities would ensure a protected environment. So, you know, these shrines are sort of like ways of warring off evil and keeping off evil intentions and whatever you wanna go with that. But we have plans for a shrine over at the fishing gate as well. And but this one is the shrine at the western gate. So coming up through the main causeway, there is all these monoliths made out of granite, and each one of those is spanned by wooden fortifications. Now they are two-tiered fortifications. You can have defenders up here with bows, and you can have defenders up here with bows or slings or whatever they have at the time as ranged weaponry, spears, javelins, who knows, but it just makes for a really interesting atmosphere. And the other interesting thing is those monoliths kind of section each bit. So if the attacker was down here, they would be attacked from all sides. If the attacker was here, they'd be attacked. Literally, there is no comfortable spot in this causeway, so it's very defendable. Not to mention, there is a spot right here where defenders can shoot from. So it just makes for a really interesting and fun environment. Not to mention the clematis. Now, I know that clematis is not realistic. It doesn't grow into the ground. It just goes from monolith to monolith, and that is the way it is. It just looks nice in my opinion. So here is another fun part is we got crisscrossing monoliths. Now, the idea with this is it creates an entrance. So pretty much what can happen here is the defenders can create a shield wall or a spear wall, or just clog this up with carts and miscellaneous items or whatever else that they have at their disposal, and pretty much keep this area contained. And it just makes for a fun little environment. And then obviously these mushrooms were a huge deal, utilizing those branch blocks and having the glow glow mushroom there in the in each mushroom, what do you call it, cap. We pretty much had this idea of utilizing the mushrooms as lampposts, and I think that we did that pretty well. I really like how that turned out. So you guys are gonna notice these are very witchery. You know, if you guys have ever played The Witcher, that's what these things are inspired from. Fingolfin actually came through and built a bunch of these throughout our build. You know, there's one there, there's one there. You know, they're just all over the place. So anyways, Fingolfin and A Fish Without Fins got those up, and that just really makes for a fun atmosphere. It encloses and you know, it makes sections of the build, and it's like you're walking into a new section each time you walk through one of those. I wouldn't really call it a gate, but I'm not quite sure what else to call it. So we're gonna look through here now. So this is the, again, we're back on the western side. There's the west gate right there. And we're going to check out what details are here. So we got a little place where, I guess the village people, or maybe those on guard duty, maybe they're taking a break from guard duty, they would sit around here, roast some marshmallows. I want to say marsh some roast mellows, but I was like, that doesn't sound right. Roast some marshmallows there, and well, obviously they don't have marshmallows, but you know, roast some rats or some deer, who knows, some venison. So the gate really turned out quite interesting. I really like this roof design here. I mean, it really makes for a fun and organic design. I mean, I don't know what made me think of doing a roof like this, but I was just like, I want to do something really weird. So ultimately, you know, we were over on creative, and I was just like, let's just do something really weird with this, because Meso, she specified she wanted something with a big round roof, and she wanted the structure itself to be round. And I think that we achieved that goal pretty well, if I must say so. Also, I really like this. We have these, what do you call them, cupolas all over the place, and they're all variated. They're all different, and I like that a lot about the build. They're all different, all different designs. So that being said, let's do a quick little explore of the gate structure itself. So we come up here. This is the spot overlooking the causeway. You can go in through this door here, and there is a sort of like a storage room. Imagine there'd be weapons in here and other things. Like, for example, these are probably urns of oil or whatever else that they use to defend the gate from attackers. So they'd probably keep that all in here. And then if we make our way out this way, this will lead up this way. And this is the top floor of the gate. And one thing that I really like about this style is the beamwork that you can put into the ceilings. And it really makes for a neat detail design feature. You know, it could just be all thatch up there and a few beams, but you know, it's like a challenge to try to put in as many beams as you can to span the gaps. So I really like how that is. Got a couple, you know, obviously got these murder holes here. Can shoot arrows, throw rocks, whatever. You know, that's actually a good idea. We should probably have things of rocks up here, but that is that. Come down this way. This is that little stair tower on the back side of the gate. And that comes back down to here. That's what this is right there. We felt like we needed a stair tower or something there to make the top a little bit more accessible. So here is a little roofed section on the back here. It just felt like there needed to be something there to make it a little bit more asymmetrical. So like we got the tower over here, but then we got a lower roof section over here. So it just makes for a little bit more coverage when you're at the gate. Then we have like this little, I don't know what you would call that, little roofed bit as you walk in to the side of the building there, coming from the south. So that is that. So it's really hard to really pick specific locations and choose to show those locations because there's so much to see. There really is. So we're gonna focus on this house, Thomas's house, and the gardens around. So let's just go check out the interior first. Well, let's do a quick little look around first. So as you can see, the structure has a very unique roof. Again, I'd like to mention that Thomas was the originator of our style, and so this was what the original roofs look like. And then the entrances adorned with these sort of spiked, I'm not quite sure, stoneworks in the front. So we come inside and we're met by a shrine, and that kind of gives a religious aspect. And then the interesting thing about this dwelling is that they are tailors, so that they would make rugs, they would make clothing, pretty much anything that results around cloth making, that's what they would do. And for example, upholstery most likely, and other such items of commodities and things. So I really like detailing interiors, so there's always going to be a very cluttered detailing when it comes to interior work. As far as I'm concerned, I really like to enclose the environment, make it feel livable, make it feel like there is, because if you guys are aware, obviously, if you live in a place for long enough, you're just going to keep accumulating stuff. That's just a natural progression. And obviously, in this day and age, the accumulation of stuff would be quite important because, it's not like the modern day where you have a Walmart and you can just throw away old stuff and get something new. So in this era, this lifestyle and culture, they would have to hold on to things, and that's kind of represented with all of the items everywhere. So out front we got a little stables, got a couple horse stalls there. Eventually this road is going to go up and meet the bridge, which is going to lead over to our brooch, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a bridge that spans the gap here, meets right there, and then there's going to be a fort of sorts over there. So really looking forward to that. Episode 3 coming up. So coming back over here, Saltheart actually came through and put in all these mushrooms. He did a really good job with all that. Super happy with how all these shrooms turned out. Again, they're like light posts, and they really light up the village. So this here is Thomas's garden. There's a lot of little details around, including a shrine up against the wall. Really like this detail work that sort of pushes up into the wall there. Really makes for an interesting and fun detail. And then obviously we got, looks like grapevines and wisteria planted over this arbor leading to that shrine. Lots of garden space. Again, very important to have gardens. It just makes for a more sustainable atmosphere where the earth is cultivated within the walls so that the village folk can have access to their own resources. So the towers are quite a bit of fun. These things were quite a design feature, and there was a huge discussion within the group. Should there be 2? Should there be 3? Well, we end up with 5, and the reason why is each one pretty much covers a very specific area of the village. So, we got the one on the northwest, we got one on the west, we got one on the south, we got one on the southeast, and we got one on the northeast. And each one covers specific areas in order to give the village a very wide angle of observation. So there's one thing to be down on the walls and look over the walls, right? But if you're up in the tower here, you can look down. In fact, we're going to go ahead and climb up this tower and look out across the surroundings. This one's still not finished, but we'll come back through later and get this finished. But, you know, when you're up here at this vantage point, you can see everything. And then obviously the north side will be covered by the fort when that is finished. So, but yeah, I really like this. Also, you can shoot down on the causeway there. The original idea was to not have this tree puff out so much so that you could see more, but, you know, it's okay. It's all right. We'll make that work. So, coming down this way, so this tree, you know, it's really not specified to be anything specific. There's not really anything in the lore other than that the sap of this tree creates some sort of liquid with magical properties in it. And we used, or Saltheart had the idea of using that glowing mushroom block to make it look like the water is glowing. So not only does that provide a little light source for back here, but also it's a really neat idea, and just looks great. So really like how that turned out. And then we've got a little outhouse right here, and so just so many little details. Just really liking how all this turned out. But one thing to mention is the trees, I did not use any of the fancy new branches for. And the reason why, in survival, it is very difficult to utilize blocks like that. And I just don't have the patience. So we just utilize the smaller, or the more, what do you call it, the basic branches versus the really fancy 3D ones that we now have in Conquest Reforged, which are amazing. Don't get me wrong, I love them. It just takes a lot of time and patience to utilize those. So just did not find the worth in doing that. So anywho's, that being said, we'll go ahead and walk along the wall a little bit. We'll come back up on the other northern dwelling. Here's another one of those mushrooms that Saltheart made. Really like that design. It's kind of like a morel mushroom. You guys are familiar with those. So this is the first of, I think, 5 garderobes that are accessed on the edge of the wall. And these, we do need to make like little spots where the stuff goes. But this here is what's considered a poop chute. And I made each one different so that there is not 2 of the same, because I really don't like copy pasta. It just is too, aka copy paste. I just don't like copying things all throughout, and it just doesn't really feel right. So anyways, there is first of 5 outhouses, and so we're gonna come back down this way now. And so the gardens are surrounded by small stone features. Here we have a chicken coop, very small, very quaint chicken coop. Coming through here, we got a little bit of a garden. Looks like these are supposed to be tomato bushes, bean poles, and tobacco, things of that nature, and some, I think that's barley, I'm not sure. So this dwelling is actually really interesting. I really like the stone monoliths at the front here. It just makes for an interesting and fun design to the overall structure. This is the largest dwelling, by the way. It is a very large roof. Not quite as large as the council hall roof, which we will see eventually. So coming in this side, this interior was made by Saltheart, and so he made a shrine like the other one. And then we got a little bit of a kitchen over here. We got the central fire pit, and then room for, I think, 15 beds. So we got some bedding in there. Got a carpentry area there, and then the second floor accessed by a ladder. And that leads up to the second level, which would be the, what would this be called? The balcony or the loft. I think loft sounds a little bit more appropriate. So we come in through here, lots to be seen, lots of beds, lots of details. So really like how all that turned out. And then of course, lots of beam work going up through the roof there. So great work, Salt. Loving it. So we're gonna come back outside, and we're gonna go this way because now we're gonna be going towards the storage building. Again, this is associated with this dwelling. We got more garden space, got more tomatoes and beans. I forget what that is. Peas, those are peas, and then some tobacco in the back, and nightshade, some corn. Makes for really fun little details and things all the way around, because you want life like that. You want to be able to implement life. So that little wooden roof there makes for a nice little breakup between the thatch, a little bit of contrast value. Really like that. And then we come up this way, and then this is the baker's oven. The baker's oven itself, built by Salthart. He did some research into how a baker oven works, and he came up with that design. So that looks really, really nice. So, and then of course the fantasy element just makes it that much more fun and interesting. Little tree back here. I don't think there's anything else other than we got a little bit of mud. Obviously, this area would be very, very wet. You got a hillside there, and no real outflows. So this area would be pretty muddy after a rainstorm. So that is that. Got a little place where bread would rise here in that little, whatever you want to call it. And I imagine the baker would probably live in this dwelling here. So the idea is to put a little bit more of a baker's workshop right here, but we ended up building this over here as the baker's workshop, another little outside little shed type thing where he would be. So this here is the grain silo, and underneath is a funnel, and that funnel could be activated or opened, and then you'd have a bucket underneath. Fill the bucket with grain, close the opening, and then bring your grain outside and start working with it. And obviously it had to be crushed into flour or whatever they would need. And then this is where they would throw the grain in, so that they would bring the grain up here and then toss it on inside the silo there. So, but yeah, I really like how that turned out. I think it's nice to have little grain silo, or a grain silo, should I say, in the village, and then having all this detail around. Just we had was it 2 granaries, cold storage building, and a grain silo. So I really like that purposeful placement of structures of that nature, so that the village can have a food source. So here is the storage building, and the main thing to mention about in here is there's a lot of food in here. So basically another granary, and the idea is that all of this space is utilized by food source, because again, a village needs to have quite a bit of food in order to function. Got a few weapons in this part of the building, some spears, some swords and hammers and axes, things of that nature to, for the village folk to defend themselves in the event of an attack. So technically an armory. Got some big barrels of, I'm assuming, mead or beer or whatever back in there. And so that is that. This here is our storage room, our survival storage room. So this is what we used for when we have played survival and building this village. We got most of our resources from down in there. So coming out front here, there's another one of those, whatever you want to call those, standing stone features out front of the structure. I really like these. It just makes for an interesting design feature, and it's a lot of fun. So I like how that turned out. Coming through here, Thomas added a little bit of detail back in here. Obviously, some more fish that have been that are drying and being processed and prepped to be used by the fishmonger. Coming up the stair here, this leads us up onto the wall. Here is one of the flags. So we built that flag over there first, and I was like, we need more flags. And so Salthart came through and built that flag and that flag up there. So it's really neat to see that color, and also the flag designs. It's really cool to see the village from a distance and then see those flags just really, really make a big difference. So really like that a lot. So we're gonna come back in here, and so this here is the fishing gate. Got some beam work up in there, and then obviously got some murder holes and overlooking the northern causeway that leads down to the beach. Man, I love that atmosphere there. Really, really nice. We got another watchtower here overlooking this side, so that's very nice. I like that. And coming up to the gate, you can see that causeway just, and how it just like molds into the gate or into the wall there. I really enjoy this. I really like how this all just kind of came together here. So the inner causeway, like I had said on the video, was built by Fingolfin, and obviously the western side is the stone monoliths and everything, whereas this is more like stockades and things. And I think that turned out fairly nicely. I really like how this is, and plus that deer head right there makes for an interesting and very tribal kind of look in here. Originally, Fing had all these blood splatters all over the walls, and I was like, I don't know, that's feeling a little bit. We probably should take those out. It felt like there was a bloodbath in here, like they were, I don't know, murdering anyone coming through the gate. So no blood splatters. So over on this side, we have the fish processing area. Trying to make sure that I've gotten everything. There's another one of our lamppost mushrooms. But if we come this way, these are fish smokers, like more, what do you call it? This is just cooking the fish, I would assume. Cooking them up to make to be eaten. And then this here is the actual smoker. So Saltheart designed this in here. Very, very nice. And some, I'm assuming, barrels and cauldrons of stuff that would be utilized for the smoker in there. So this here is the great tree built behind Meso's house, and it's very, very large, very, very large. But again, I wanted to utilize all of those, the basic branches, and it turned out fairly nice. I'm quite happy with how that, the design of it turned out. Also, the fact that it has all these purple blooms all the way on the outside really makes for a big difference. I'm going to turn down that render distance, just give us a little bit more FPS to work with. So back here is the fishmonger. This is where the one of the village folk would be processing the fish, cutting them up, and utilizing the meat for whatever needs to be used. So that's what that is. And again, we have another one of those garderobes on the back here, overhanging from the wall. Plus, it gives the wall a little bit of features, so I do like that a lot. But you come in here, and obviously you got a poop chute there. So really like how that turned out. So coming back down, we're going to be looking at the cold storage building. That's what we call it. It's actually themed after something in ancient Persia. The Archimedeans and whatnot utilized a structure in the middle of the desert that would basically, if you have, it would dig down into a pit. You put ice that was harvested in the winter down at the bottom. During the summer, that ice would stay frozen, and the circulated air coming in through little vents, which would be right here, would create something of a whirlwind of sorts inside the structure. Now, these things were huge, so this is like a mini one, but the actual ones were like ginormous, like a pyramid size, and would create sort of like a wind tunnel type thing, and that wind would keep the air nice and cool, and then it would be recycled. Like the hot air would rise out through the opening at the top, and then the cold air would stay, would stay within the building. So really like the overall design of this building. I think it turned out quite nicely. And yeah, so we just felt like there needed to be some sort of cold storage for the fish. So there's that. Got another lamppost thing there, and I think that's all the details there are to see back in this area. So this here is a fun little thing. This is still unfinished, but this is a well, a smaller well in comparison to our larger one with the stag, obsidian stag statue on top. Here is a cauldron here. Thought that this would be an interesting idea, especially for an herbalist type environment that we have here. So it's a very large cauldron where, you know, the herbalist would cook something up. So that's what that's about. And then let's see, let's keep going this way. So we still got some indications. Fish left his, so a fish without fins finished the interior here. He left his mess out here still. But that's the facts of survival. But anyways, coming inside here, the herbalist hut turned out really, really quite nicely. There's a lot of great detail in here, and it's very, very, very atmospheric. And apparently a skeleton there. So coming this way, this is where the herbalist would sleep. You got the bed, some place for clothing, and little miscellaneous design features throughout. Really like all that. And a little bit of a work table here. Really like how that turned out. Very, very nice. Fish without fins is a very, what should I say? A very learned and he's very good with interiors and placement of details. So very, very fine work in here. Got a little bit of a office or something of an office space up there, and more storage up top. So really like how this building turned out. Very, very atmospheric, very nice. So we're gonna head on back out now, and we're gonna check out the herbalist garden. So that's what all this would be. This is all built by Meso, and just lots of herbs and things that the herbalist would need, and then a giant glowing mushroom overshadowing the garden itself. So coming this way, this is the fire circle, and but we're gonna come back to this. We first got to go check out something or some stuff down this way. So this here is our giant apple tree, and we felt like it needed to be lit up underneath, so we put in these oriental lanterns. And the funny thing is that they don't actually light up, so we had to put some invisible light blocks underneath them to make them look like they're lit up. So anywho's, there's that. So the idea was to have this giant old apple tree here, and the whatever you call this, the stump of which would be utilized as a message board. So like carved into the wood would be where that they would leave messages and stuff, something like a Robin Hood tree or something. Robin Hood. Robin Hood tree. So anyways, I think that makes for an interesting little design feature, something unique, and very large roots going all the way around, but not enough to break up the rows. Like, you still have space to walk around, so wanted to make sure that was there. So making our way back west, we now come up on the well, the village well. That stag statue is just phenomenal. Check that out, guys. Just really, really nice. He utilized, he first designed the one up at his festival circle, and then he did this one down here. But this one is it's just beautiful. Love it. So this here is the well designed by Meso and Caledon, and then of course Fingolfin came back and finished it. But as you can see, it is a large cavity in here, and that would fill up with water, and then it would shoot up to the surface and then fill in that reservoir there, and the village folk would go down to the water's edge, get out the water that they want, and then they would utilize that for whatever they need: washing clothes, drinking water, washing dishes, just whatever. So and it'd be some sort of religious aspect. So I think it has something to do with like praying to whatever the god is, and you know, it would bring forth water. So yeah, something like that. So here is a one of those spore plants. Now the interesting thing about this is time set night is if you look at the top here, there's these lightning bugs coming out, and that's supposed to represent spores coming out the top. And again, we got some more over here as well. And that makes for a really fun and interesting design there, using the fireflies as a detail. And obviously we put some invisible lights next to them to make them kind of glow. So like glowing spores coming out the top. So really interesting. And just check how that village lights up at night. That's a very purposeful design for the village, because we wanted to make sure that this place just felt lit up and just full of color. You know, I always kind of, whenever I think of nighttime and glowing, I always think of Avatar and, you know, Pandora and all the plants and stuff. So now moving this way, we're going to go check out the blacksmith built by Saltheart. We got a forge in the middle there, and a little bit of a storage room in here for whatever the blacksmith would need. And then coming up this side, we got another spore plant, which you guys have already seen. Fingolfin added this little like shrine type thing right here, so I like that quite a bit. There's another flag and 2 smelters. So these smelters are a really interesting little thing. You obviously smelt iron and utilize that for the blacksmith. Right here we have a granary, got some more grain inside to be ground up into flour and things. So that makes for a nice little purposeful design feature. And then coming up this way, we got ourselves a potter. So Saltheart designed the potter here, and got a turntable, and obviously pots that have been shaped all the way around, and a little pile of mud, a little pile of clay mud right there. So there's that. Come up through here, and back in this section there are these little alcoves where jars of the deceased would be kept, and that is a sort of like you know, something in their culture that they would do. And then some apple trees out front. So really like how this area turned out, very atmospheric and has a nice design. So during one of the streams, Patrick's was on, and he was like, hey, you wanted to make like a little campfire thing there. Why don't you do a stone table grilling a mushroom? And I was like, okay. So he was talking about cultivating these giant mushrooms and making them into more of a food source or something versus just being aesthetic as they are. And I thought that was a really good idea. So utilizing the stems as a some sort of food source has a really interesting design or aspect to it that I wanted to incorporate. So there we go. We're grilling some mushrooms there. We'll come back to this. So here we got a couple of graves. These are supposed to be dedicated to different people, but we haven't done that yet. Inside there is some space, but we just haven't gotten in here and finished that up yet. One of them to be dedicated to Sir Isaac, which is one of the original Duconians back on the first Duconia. So again, come back to this side. We got a couple, I was going to say gargoyles, but they are griffins designed by Saltheart. And really like how these turned out, using the magma for the foundations, and then the andesite and stone for up top. And really good design, and these are dedicated to our friend It's Truth. So coming down this way, we got a place where the manure from the stables would be kept, and obviously manure is a really good fertilizer, and so they would use the manure for the gardens and things. So this would be constantly replenished and removed to be utilized throughout the village. So here we have like a little recreational area where they would play a game of Gwent apparently, and they could just kind of use this area as a recreational area, and I really like how that turned out. Having something like this just really brings some purpose and detail in. That was built by Thomas. So coming into the fire circle, this here is the main altar, and that is obviously built by Caledon. Did a really good job with that. And then we got like a little spot here where the village elder or elders would address the village folk, and there would be parties and festivals and dancing and all sorts of stuff going on in this area. Religious things, you name it. That's what this would be utilized for. And something I really like is these like little glowing crystals up top. It just sort of indicates that these monoliths are energy focusing devices of sorts. So I'm not quite sure, how that how that blends into the lore and how that can be utilized, but for some reason there's these glowing crystals. But at nighttime, it just really makes this area pop. So I really like those crystals a lot. These were our first mushrooms that we made. This was before that we decided to utilize the mushrooms as lampposts. So that's why they are not designed with the glowing mushroom blocks in their design. So that's why they're quite a bit smaller. But then as we moved forward, we're like, yeah, we need to add some, it needs to be a little bit bigger to fit that glowing block underneath. So here is a sail maker designed by A Fish Without Fins. Obviously, since we are on a lake, you don't technically need sails because, it's a small lake. It really is a small lake. But the idea is that, we're not going to do it, but connect those lakes, and then the river would then connect to the sea, and then, make your way out. So that was a long-term goal, but we're probably not going to end up doing that. Coming this way, we got an apiary where obviously honey and wax would be harvested for candles and sweetener. Come inside here, a little place where the apiary would have different storage things to maintain and upkeep that area. I really like this white tree here. Using the white cherry blossoms makes for an interesting little feature. Obviously, again, at nighttime it lights up, and it's a really fun detail. Here's another one of those outhouses overhanging from the wall. I like how that turned out, and I really like these like blue bushes using the juniper leaves and the blue flowers. Really makes for a fun detail. So let's check out, this is A Fish Without Fins, his house. Very, very organic, crazy design. So I really enjoy walking through this area. So this here is the vegetable garden surrounding. Thomas actually designed the layout for this garden, and he did some of it, including this section here. So I really like how that turned out, and he utilized those fancy branches. I just don't have patience for those branches. They are so frustrating. Coming over here, we got like a little spot where they would have like a little garden party of sorts, I guess. And then over here is a little shrine, and you'll notice that there are all these different fruit trees. We got a lemons. I think these are lemons or oranges. We got plums, pears, and cherries. So we got all these different fruit trees all the way around. So this here is the stump by Saltheart. It's a petrified stump, so you can imagine the size of this tree at one time before it was cut down or blew over by a storm. But anyways, the inside is utilized as our nether portal. So you can see right here is our nether portal, and then all the way around is just this sort of like infected region where the nether has infected and is turning the landscape into this like blue viney kind of look there, and then a giant mushroom coming out the top, which I think is just a really neat design feature and adds so much to this area. So I think Salt did a really good job with that. So now we're going to be, I guess, let's check out the actual house itself. We need to go inside there. Got a place to wash clothes right here. And then we're going to make our way inside this house. So coming inside, it's a very, so you know, a lot of the interiors of Dun Caledon are much more rustic, whereas this interior is much more refined, you know, very refined, cultured interior. I think there should be 12 beds in here, but there is a lot of space to work with. And I also really like how he designed the levels are very organic. There's an organic flow to it. It's not just one floor, it's just a constant going up, 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 and up. And it really makes this fun and interesting in here. I really like that a lot. So very, very good job there, Fish. You did a fantastic job. You got a little, obviously a fire pit and a roasted pig there over the fireplace. So now we're going to go back out, and I think we're gonna go check the council hall area. Well, I take that back. Let's go up Mushroom Alley. We're gonna make our way this way. We're gonna jump over that, and then we're going to go this way. So coming up this side, we have a pretty much an overgrown area where the mushrooms just sort of create this enclosed atmosphere. So walking up this path, you just got mushrooms and plants all over the place. I just had this idea for like a Skyrim type word wall here, and then somebody's inscribing it or something. I have no idea, but just like a random little detail there. And then coming up this way, we utilize a cap of the green mushroom to create like a archway, and it just encloses this region a little bit better. So I like how that turned out. And then it opens up into the top section of our village where the council hall is. So again, we're on the back side of the stump. Got a big old mushroom that Saltheart made back here, and then got another watchtower there. Come up this way, and we have a double a double outhouse. So if anyone wants to come in and have a party, that is a possibility. Here is another granary, and unfortunately this one's not finished. There's no beam work in the ceiling there, but still, that you get the idea. It's a little bit larger than the other one by an extra block height, but really like how that turned out. We just need to get that finished in there. Let's see, what else is there? There is a dovecote. I'll be honest, I have no idea who built this dovecote. This was here one day and nobody said, hey, I built that. So, but this is a really good design. I like how that turned out. You got some doves in there, and it really shows, what it is. It's a dovecote, so very, very good job with that. So we're gonna keep going this way. We've seen most of this. So I had this idea of adorning Saltheart's house with something a little bit more grand than what we typically see. So I had this idea for like an Aztec or Mayan stone feature on the front, and so that's what this ended up becoming. And then you come inside, and obviously this is Saltheart's house, who is our giant in our lore. Saltheart is even in game, he's a giant, and he likes cats. So but really like how this area turned out. Very, very, very nice. So we're gonna go over here, and this is the archery range. I can also imagine this probably could be used for like dancing and stuff. Recreational in general. It's sort of like a recreational hall in here. Farrar did a good job with this. You can stand down here and shoot those targets and get some practice in. Coming up this way, this is Saltheart's. Gotta have a giant garderobe for his for what he has to do. But anyways, a giant garderobe there to fit him. So like how that turned out. Very, very nice. Let's see. I'm just trying to format in my head how I want to showcase all this. So we're going to go around the back now. So this here is a little spot where things for the archery range can be stored away. And then obviously we got this great big old tree here. And then you can't really see it right now, but there is a great horn right here. And that great horn would signify, you know, a battle or, you know, a special event, maybe a marriage, you know, you name it. Obviously, this horn would have come from some large creature, so very, very, very large creature. But ultimately, the idea is that they, you know, they downed the creature and then they utilized the horn for, you know, to be used as a what do you call it? An alarm mechanism. So Caledon designed this. He did a really good job with this. I really like how that ended up. So very, very, very nice. Let's see what else is there to see in here. I really like coming underneath this tree. Just really very atmospheric under here. So we're gonna go this way, come down, and we're gonna check out. Got a couple graves right here for, I'm assuming, deceased chieftains or okay, I'm sorry. Dun Caledon didn't have chieftains, so it's more of a council type vibe. So I don't know who would be buried there. Come this way, and there is a giant monolith of which we have no idea what it's for. Django needs to work on our lore so that we can have a lore for each little random feature that we have in our build. So but it has like a very colorful garden next to it, and then it has, you know, this large, very pointy and spiky stone feature leading out to it from the council building. So we'll look at the council building last. Right here is the pine tree, dedicated to those who still remain, aka the Draconians, and this pine tree is dedicated to the Draconians, and that's what this is right here. So I'm sorry, spruce tree. It's a spruce tree dedicated to the Draconians. So really like how that turned out. So I really like the roof of the council building. I think that especially with these little dormers up here, really helped make this building into a very featured structure. Not to mention also this is another tribal effigy, kind of like those totems that were down by the front gate, designed by Django, and just makes for a really interesting and fun effigy there as you walk up towards the council building, and it just makes just really, really awesome feature there. So thank you, Django, for doing that. That's really cool. So that is that. I think that's everything to see up here. And now we're gonna go inside the council building. I think, yeah. So coming inside, there is room for a bunch of people to sit and eat and party. And then there is a council table. I think room for 11, 3, 9, and then that would be 13. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. I'm sorry. My math is terrible. So we got a piece of meat that is cooking over the fire using the marble blocks to make it look like muscle and sinew. And then there's a fire in the middle, and obviously that would, you know, all the smoke would go out through the cupola up here, and also the dormers, likely. So let's see, what else is there to see? Got a big stone table surrounding the fire, and there's not really that much crazy detail in here. I got a little music stand back here, the door leading out to that monolith, and some carpets and things, and obviously stone chairs where the council members would make their decisions. And then this is where people that are making a petition would stand and make their case. So this right here is a dragon's head that the village were able to kill, and then they brought it in here and chained it up as a trophy. So really like how that turned out. Saltheart put that in here, so very, very nice. Very, very nice. I think that's it for the council building. We're going to come back outside now. I'm going to do a little quick flyby and just see if there's anything that we missed specifically, because there has been a lot. I guess we did miss the stables, so we'll go ahead and check that out real quick. So coming in from the north of the paddock, we come in and we see there's like a mud lot type thing in here. We dip the mud down a little bit to make it just give a little bit of terrain elevation. I find just if it was all flat, it would be kind of boring. Got a little pile of hay, got a couple troughs of water, and got some like weeds and stuff that the horses don't like eating. If it's fresh grass, they'll eat that, but they don't like weeds and stuff. So come in here, got a little bit of space for some hay, and then obviously some space for some horses inside. In survival, here's my Duconifex right there. But yeah, in survival, horses are very, very useful. So it's nice to have a stables where you can store those horses. So that is that. And I'm just going to do a quick little flyby. Make sure that we have seen everything that is to be seen, because there is a lot to be seen for sure. So let's just go ahead and look down here real quick. This is a little spot built by Frar. He dug this creek out all the way, and now he is naturalizing it. And I just think that this is just looking absolutely phenomenal. Look at that detail on the edge there. Just really, really well done. Frar is a phenomenal builder. He's not able to get on that much. He's a family man. He only is able to get on like an hour a day, if that, and but he still is just a really, really good builder. It's good to see that he's getting on when he can. Coming over here, we got Fing's boat. I really like the design of that. I'm trying to remember what that is. The tiller? I don't know, something of that nature. That's what they would use to steer the boat. You got that sort of long stick right there that would be used to function or make it function. Got very large sails to propel this boat across the lake here. And man, just so much detail in this. It's really, really well done. Really, really nice. And got some like a little cargo hold for all the fish and things in there. And eventually the idea is, the lake would be much larger, and like I said, this boat could make its way up the river and to the ocean. So here we have a this is all by Fingolfin, the beach here. It makes for a really, really nice detail and design. Also, you guys will notice that there's two versions of it. You got the darker sand and you got the lighter sand. The darker sand where the water would lap up and it would be a little bit more wet. And then you got the lighter sand where the sand would be very dry. On this side, we got some terraforming by Fingolfin. Makes for a really nice view angle. Man, just check that out. It's just beautiful. And also the house itself is really well done. I really like that shape and design. Very unique and fun. And then coming inside, we got the interior there. So here we have this is the boat maker. So he's making a boat over here. I really like how that turned out. I like the skeletal structure of the boat. Whoops, I just broke that. We got the skeletal structure of the boat, and it just turned out really nice. So fantastic job with that. Coming this way, we got, you guys have seen that. I guess we can look at the dock. There's the design for, I love this, making, it's just such a little thing, but still so much time went into designing that. And I love that. I love that a lot. It just really is awesome. Coming this way, it's our road that leads through our quarry. This is where the stone would be harvested for the different parts of the village, because you can imagine that this hill would have connected to here at one point, and then they built the artificial mounds. And eventually this is going to be the fortress right there, and we're going to be doing some very custom terraforming right here to make that area that much more featured and interesting. So coming out here, we got some fields by Fingolfin. Got some wheat fields. Not quite sure what that's supposed to be. I'm guessing that's supposed to be barley. Looks like they just burnt this field to make it more harvestable next season. More wheat, some kind of crop here, some kind of crop there. So I really like this. I like how Fingolfin designed these fields, and it just makes for a very atmospheric, the idea is, and hopefully eventually you'll be able to do fields all the way around, but we'll see, where this goes. And then of course, just an absolutely beautiful spot of the overall lands of Duconian lands, or Dun Caledon lands, is this festival circle up here. Fingolfin made this, and it just really comes together really nicely. And look how well these ribbons flow. Just such a great design. Again, we got another stag up at the top of that pedestal there. And as you're walking up towards it, it just feels so atmospheric, and it just has a really nice look to it. So really good job with that there, Fing. Just a beautiful spot. So that being said, I think we pretty much showcased everything that there is to see. Obviously there has been a lot done in Dun Caledon. It took us 2 months to build all this. It was all purely built in survival, and I guess there is this to see, the monolith that was broken over by this tree here. But it took us 2 months to build this thing, and every bit of it, we put our heart and soul into it. I just feel like if we're going to build something, I don't want to just do it halfway. I want to make sure that it goes the full 9 yards, and I do not like to cut corners. I like to make sure that everything feels right, and I really wanted this village itself to be done for this episode, and lo and behold, here it is. So really happy to see where this village has come, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, because we got some great plans in the future, not only on this village, but also the Duconians are looking for more members, and we would like to do some larger projects in the future that would be very a lot of fun, obviously, and creative. I think we're done with survival for now. But ultimately, there is a lot to see, a lot more to do, and we're going to be doing some great stuff to come. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little extra walkthrough bit of Dun Caledon. Got a little closer look as to what everything is, and what we did and how we did it. So you all have a great day, have a great night, and I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye-bye.